Tonight, it's an exclusive. We have External Affairs Minister of our country, S. Jaishankar, speaking with us, speaking to my Editor-in-Chief, Rishabh Gulati, over a number of issues, from domestic elections to foreign policy, and talking about India's stature across the globe. Rishabh is sitting with me right now. And Rishabh, what was the conversation like? How was it spending that time with our minister?
Okay. All right, Megha. So the 40-minute interview coming up at 9 o'clock tonight. Okay, so you can see it for the first time on TV. We'll put it simultaneously as well on YouTube and on X and on Facebook. So you can have a look at it there also. So we over the course of the next couple of hours, we're going to break this down because unlike most conversations where obviously the External Affairs Minister, one is speaking mostly about foreign policy issues, we're in the middle of an election. And although Dr. Jaishankar is not a career politician, but he's very much in politics and he's at the helm of the cabinet's important ministry and the architect of foreign policy. And the foreign policy, he says in this interview, is a factor in this election. So let's break this up over the next 2 hours. Okay, number one, what has he said about Narendra Modi? What is the world view of Narendra Modi? What G20 to what not? Okay, how does that impact? Then let's examine over the course of another half an hour, what has he said about Rahul Gandhi and the opposition? Okay, and he's said he's really gone out there. I wouldn't jump to say that this is a roast that has been done, especially on the issue of China and Rahul Gandhi's Cambridge remarks on China. So he said a lot about that. We'll deep dive into that. Then let's pick up terrorism, because in the end we have to come back from style into substance. And this is a substantive thing that has taken place, that outside of J&K, no major metropolis in this country has seen a terror attack in 10 years. Okay, it's a major policy shift from dossier diplomacy to what action is being taken in the surgical strikes, Balakot, and subsequently. So I've asked him of everything from Trudeau to China to Rahul Gandhi has been discussed over here. But there's another interesting part of this interview, and like I said, the full interview coming up at 9 o'clock. The interesting part of the interview is S. Jaishankar defining the ideological divide, because we've been trying to figure out, is there an ideological divide between the BJP and the Congress, or is it just a political divide? Personalities, but on policy matters, in welfare, in economics, in how the country should run, they're pretty much the same. No, he says there's a definite ideological divide. So that's coming up in just a bit.
Okay, all right. So starting off, talking about Narendra Modi, the phenomenon, and he speaks about a number of things, and particularly about what his take is as a leader in domestic politics, as a leader that is being appreciated and acknowledged and recognized by people across the globe. In fact, let's quickly take a look at that quick excerpt.
Well, I tell people it is sabka saath, sabka vikas at an international level. That look, if you are confident, if you are well-meaning, if you are fair and reasonable about your own interest and respectful about those of others, it's possible to carry different people and different countries. They may have problems with each other, but why must I always, be at the beck and call or be under pressure from others to choose? It is often my interest not to make those binary choices. So we have today consciously, that's why Prime Minister uses this word, which is there in our manifesto as well, Bharat as Vishwa Bandhu, that we have the ability today to have good relations with, let us say, Russia and with the US, or with UAE and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Kuwait and Bahrain, with Israel and with Palestine. So I think it's a weak leadership which feels, don't go, if I go there, I must necessarily tie up with one, or don't even go there because you will come under pressure.
All right, so all those important things, Rishabh, and one particular thing, India will work and move forward for its own interest, and why should India be at the beck and call of the developed economies?
Okay, so beck and call is the point being that why do we have to pick a side? Because the question I asked him was, how do you go about in this current scenario where you have to be friends with Iran, also with the Saudis, and we know they don't get along, then the Israelis, and all them three don't get along, okay? At the same time with the Emiratis, then also try to foster an association with the Qataris, who have a fundamental OIC divide with the Saudis. It's a highly complex, some would say almost a toxic scenario, which the best in the world find it impossible to navigate. The Russians, the British, the Americans find it impossible to navigate this. But we are navigating it. So what's the art? So, let me just set this up because I know you got guests to debate this as well. So I asked him about the elections, and we'll run that on your screens. So he says that he's been out in the field as well, covered 6 or 8 states, and he thinks it's going well. On Article 370, I've asked him about, and he's emphasized on the issue of temporary. On the big question about nuclear warfare averted during Ukraine, was there an Indian intervention? Was there a personal intervention of Narendra Modi? Minister Jaishankar says, and I'm quoting here, yes, there was a lot of diplomatic activity. We are more interested in impacting the outcome than headlines. So there's a neither confirm nor deny. But the point which you come here to discuss, which is, what is the worldview? Is foreign policy an issue in these elections? Yes, says Dr. Jaishankar, it's an issue because people are asking me about it. They think about their country and the pride and the respect and, of course, the economic benefits and other trade things that derive from it. But on the worldview, which is what you've just heard, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas at an international level, he's spoken about. He's also said that, and I asked him a very sort of theological question, and people who studied international relations will understand this. Is there a utopian view of, Vishwamitra, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, because that speaks of utopia in the realm of international affairs theory. Then you have the realist view that, listen, all of this is just talk, hard power matters, and you see Narendra Modi speaking of both. So the answer that he's given me is that you can want a better world and have 1, 2, 3 steps to build it. Narendra Modi has practical policies for India. He also has practical ideas for the world. That's not contradictory and in terms. And then on the impact that we've had, he speaks about the anti-piracy operations, the aid to Sri Lanka, the COVID vaccines, and the never been done before. All these things that have never been done before in the history of India's foreign policy. You've seen 21 odd ships being deployed in anti-piracy operation going on every day. Never been done before. That's a themology. Megha.
Right, absolutely. Ambassador Basudev Mukherjee, carrying forward this point of everything that has been reiterated by Rishabh Gulati, and there's one more point that was spoken by Jaishankar, and what he says is that it has taken a long, enormous effort on the part of the government of India to pull the country out of the past.
Yes, indeed, Megha, as Rishabh explained, we've come a very long way from where we were 12 to 15 years ago even. We have been able to carve out a niche as an emerging country, a strong country, a country whose economy is growing very fast at a time of global recession, a country that will play a very important role in a future world order which is emerging, but is already playing a very important role in an emerging global order. And some of the answers that he gave to the questions which Rishabh asked are very, very interesting and thought-provoking.
Yeah.
For instance, with the whole point about nuclear weapons in Ukraine, he is right. India, when Dr. Jaishankar says that we don't want headlines, we are interested in outcomes, he is also talking about the question that is often put to him as External Affairs Minister on whether India can play a role in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, on whether India should try to persuade Israel to go a different way in the Gaza Strip, etc. India has always said that we go in when we are asked by both sides, and that there is a role that would be useful which is in our national interest, and where we would not end up either intimidating one side or losing friends on both sides. So this is something that is a part and parcel of the present Modi government policy.
Yeah.
We are not interested in making headlines, we are interested in the outcome.
Yeah.
The other important issue that he pointed out is the fabulous successes that we've had, especially in the last 2 years when we had the G20 presidency, which was then overtaken by the Hamas attack, and how we have been able to balance every global crisis for India's national interest, be it cost of petrol, be it domestic inflation, or be it just the role that we played. So if he told Rishabh that people are interested in foreign policy, that itself marks a great change from the past when frankly, normal people, common man was not interested in foreign policy. They thought it was something esoteric done by ME, etc. But not anymore, because the common man understands that Prime Minister Modi has been able to put India back firmly on the global map where it deserves to be. And that is something of pride to India. So that is something that matters in the election campaign. For the first time in so many years, foreign policy, the successful execution of foreign policy matters in a domestic campaign for national election. That's a very big change.
I was coming to that point, and Joyita, exactly what Ambassador Mukherjee said, and Rishabh Gulati also said when he was speaking with S. Jaishankar, that this time around people are impacted. They have the pride, they are honored that India is being represented by the leader of the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And this distinction that India has gotten as the 5th largest economy, it is soon going to be the 3rd largest economy. When the red carpet is rolled out by the French president and the US president, and when you see in Abu Dhabi, there is a magnificent, huge temple that is built, and the Prime Minister is invited. This showcases India's prowess and its stature that has grown in the last 10 years.
Yes, you see, and if you are looking at it, if you want to look at it politically, something very interesting, I was on Rishabh's show in the morning, when the election was taking place, I think the second phase of election. I mean, people after people, they were, your reporters were going around and asking people about what do they think they are voting for and all. Of all places, it was from Madhya Pradesh, some small town in Madhya Pradesh. One lady says that, you see, India's foreign policy she talked about, and she talked about the kind of pride that the Prime Minister and of course with the Mr. Jaishankar they have brought to India. So you see, I think that's a huge change that we are witnessing.
No, even I was on the streets in Kerala in Thiruvananthapuram, and there were quite a few people that came out to vote, and they spoke about how they are proud of how India is being depicted across the globe. So it's resonating with the people.
So
yes,
exactly.
You talk about development, road, infrastructure, jobs, but you're also talking about India's position in the world.
You're also talking about, the very fact that you're talking about Videsh Niti. I mean, just think of it, a lady in somewhere in the small town of Madhya Pradesh is talking about Videsh Niti being one of the reasons why she is voting for Mr. Modi. I think that's something unthinkable. We couldn't have even believed it. I would say even 10 years back, forget it. So the whole point is, you see, yes, there's an immense change. Now, when you look at what happened with G20, this dispensation, they were able to take G20, they were able to democratize G20, take it to the level of the people. They held, I think, 200 odd meetings all over the country. They got delegates from all over the world, and it was not just 1, 3 or whatever number of meetings happening in the New Delhi inside a convention center. They went all over, from Guwahati to Thiruvananthapuram to Calcutta. They were all over, and that kind of, I would say, that built some kind of people's I would say linkage with what India's place is in the world, the rising profile of India. It made, the whole thing became very democratized, very popular.
Yeah. Absolutely. Particularly, another important point where in the recent past, I think just a week ago, it was the JP Morgan CEO who came out talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's done a fabulous, unbelievable job in running the country and also putting India on the global map. He's spoken about infrastructure and education, how Modi has been at the forefront, acting tough against the deep entrenched bureaucratic system. And he's spoken about many things. Few months ago, it was the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, who came out saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the most loved Prime Minister in the world. Elon Musk coming out and talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, saying that he is a big fan of Modi. So this is the kind of, I don't know if we have had prime ministers in the past 75 years of our independence where there are global leaders and big entrepreneurs who've come out in unison praising Modi or praising the prime minister of the country.
Megha, first of all, I must compliment NewsX, the entire team, and also all former diplomats like Ambassador Mukherjee, because of the enormous effort being taken by all of you, because of which today people can connect between foreign policy and national policy, Videsh Niti as being part of Rashtra Niti. So a lot of compliments to all of you. Let me tell you one thing, and I often repeat it. In 2013, India was one of the fragile 5 economies of the world. By 2023, it became one of the top 5 or one of the major 5 economies of the world. This transformation happened through difficult times, and investors, major industrialists, statesmen across the world do understand that for a country of 140 crore people to take care of their aspirations and basic necessities, to bring up people, more than 40 crore people have been brought up out of multidimensional poverty, 25 crore people in the last 10 years. To ensure that they get basics of things, not just that, but to ensure that each of them, if they have an aspiration to become an entrepreneur, that facility is given to them in terms of banking access or a mudra loan, to create the 3rd largest ecosystem of the world for startups, to ensure that today India, when the COVID situation happened across the world, perhaps India was one of the very few countries under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, which from a net importer of, what you call PP kits or masks, became one of the biggest exporters. And let me tell you, we started talking about development of resilient supply chains when nobody else was talking about it. Yes. And we were at the same time doing structural reforms, even during the middle of that crisis. And ensured that you emerge as the 5th largest economy. We gave vaccines to 99 odd countries. We gave additional free rations to 80 crore plus people. I mean, that's the reason that the purchasing power, the ability, everything remained intact when it was not so in many of the other countries. And we did everything without printing money. We must understand that. That has ruined a lot of other countries. So people have understood. And also, Megha, all through this time, we were perpetually prepared for a war because situations in the borders were not easy. And so the Prime Minister and his team worked seamlessly without any kind of grudge. So, and also let me also tell you this, it wasn't an easy time. Often India had to defy sanctions to ensure that it emerged as the 5th largest economy. Today, you find the IMF and the World Bank singing praise that India has emerged as a bright spot in a dark horizon. But for that, you had to defy the American sanctions on many other countries. From 2017-18 onwards, we defied the CAATSA sanctions. We took S-400. One of the key reasons where China did not, did more than what they tried to do a little bit in Galwan. We defined many other sanctions. We defined the diktats on Russia. They told us, don't take oil from Russia. They told us you must import vaccines. We dealt with the entire COVID situation by indigenously manufactured vaccines. And we became the voice of the global South. We gave the legitimate space to African Union in the G20, which perhaps many were not happy with. And you have today become a voice where you are representing the global South, and many of the leaders of the global South are today calling back, exposing the hypocrisy of many of the Western countries. So to maintain the balance of being good friend on both sides and yet being honest and being convinced that I should abide by the righteous things, and to say that this is not an era of war. Let me tell you, Megha, there are many countries we see which cannot survive without sustaining certain conflicts in some parts of the world, and we are seeing it. So it was very difficult journey with the Prime Minister actually traversed. Now that the situation has become better, the West has been praising, but the West has always played this paradoxical game of hunting with the hound and running with the hare. Sometimes they praise, and they are the same one who writes in the Washington Post and the New York Times everything against us. So I think what is the most important thing, the common man today can understand the efforts, external and internal, taken by the Prime Minister to ensure that we are far better secure. Not that we don't have challenges, but we are far better than what we were 10 years back. Back to you, Mary.
So, Sumit, with all these points that have been mentioned and reiterated in the interview that was held, and we are going to be showcasing it at 9 p.m. So stay tuned on NewsX, the hot mic, where we are going to see this all-encompassing interview, which is going to take forward all these points. One distinctive factor that comes across is the trust of the people, the 1.4 billion population of the country, in having a leader who will not just carry forward India as an economy that is to be reckoned with across the globe, but at the same time parallelly build India, right from building education and infrastructure and making skill development and allowing for jobs and making a level playing field, not just for the rich of the country but also for the poor. So it is an equitable development within the country that talks about domestic policy and at the same time foreign policy that no Indian leader has gone ahead forward with the way Modi has.
Megha ji, thank you very much for having me on your show, and congratulations to your team and Rishabh ji for that great interview. We'll be watching it at 9 for sure because I look forward to it. You see, the issue is here, the foreign policy was considered to be a very, is it kind of a silo where you're not supposed to look into, where you're not supposed to peep into, and it's none of your business. Now, incidentally, after Balakot, after Uri, after importing the Russian oil, which saved us a lot of money, after giving a bloody nose to China, after replying them in Galwan, after importing those Apaches, Chinooks and all, we as Indians feel proud because we have defied sanctions, we got the vaccines, we exported the vaccines. Our Prime Minister Modi, who is a proud Hindu, wears religion on his sleeve, he goes to the Sheikh of UAE and says, look brother, I need a temple here. And Prime Minister Modi said he didn't take a second to say, yes, you will get the temple here. Aap bataiye kaun si jagah chahiye. Now, he is not trying to shy his Hindu identity. He's not trying to say, no, I'm not a Hindu. I'm trying to be secular. Give me a jagah for temple, masjid, mandir, gurdwara. He didn't say that. He said, I need a temple in UAE. Give me the place. And he went for the inauguration of it. When it comes to Kashi Vishwanath, he does it. When it comes to Mahakal Corridor, he does it. When it comes to building the tunnels in the Himalayas, he does it. When it comes to answering to the China, he does it. When it comes to making India a nuclear triad, he's the one who takes the lead. When it comes to revamping the DRDO, he's the one who takes the lead. There was an earthquake in Turkey, the second biggest contingent went from India, though Turkey is not best of our friend. But we had the gumption to import the Russian oil, yet there were no CATSCA sanctions on us. We also got S-400 batteries from Russia. At the same time, we were importing Patriots and Chinooks. When we were importing the Chinooks and Apaches from Americas, they wanted us to get a F-14 or F-16. We say, we don't want it, we want a Rafale. Now, if you look at this multi-dimensional foreign policy, which is independent of religion, which is for the benefit of India, and which takes the India's identity and ethos with it. Because at G20, you could see Nataraja, you could see Bharat Mandapam, you could see that Hindu identity ethos with it. When Prime Minister Modi visits, he wears his kurta pajama, he wears his khadi. That is the identity of India. He's not trying to copy anybody or keep somebody. So that image of Prime Minister Modi, which is over and above everyone, approval rating of 69% to 74% for last 10 years. 40% is Joe Biden, is much higher than in American approval ratings. Highest number of awards from the Muslim countries, minded from Muslim countries. And when it was an Israel-Hamas conflict, I won't call it an Israel-Palestinian conflict, Israel-Hamas conflict, the first leader who came up in open and said, we support Israel, come what may, direct, no mincing of words. That is what Prime Minister Modi is. And that is what Pakistan is, scared about. That is what China is scared about. And yes, Pakistan and China impact our lives. Our neighbors' decisions vis-a-vis impact our lives. Yes, we know there's an MOU signed by Congress, which we don't know what is in that. We know they are talking of redistribution of wealth. We know they are talking of opening for the China. We know how much of sympathy and empathy they have for Pakistan. We know they're the ones who question surgical strike Balakot. We know who has sympathy for the foreign terrorists. Such was the scenario. There emerges a Prime Minister Modi, who has become a beacon of hope and the guiding light for the Indian civilization to get back, who got their pride, and who used their pride and who used their power to move ahead. That confident India, that resilient India, that India, yes, we can do it and we will do it. That was lagging, that was slaughtered, that was dismantled. That is and with it, with economy, with development, sabka saath, sabka vikas, reinstalling the Hindu pride in India, the Hindu culture and ethos in the youth of India, and as a proud Indians and Hindus, that is the biggest credit which goes to the Prime Minister Modi. And Prime Minister Modi says, you like us with our culture, with our belief system, with our, whatever we are, this is what we are. We wear the khadi baile log hai bhaiya. This is what we are. We are not going to wear a burbe. We are not going to wear Louis Vuitton so that you can we are not going to have beef with a fork and a knife. When G20 people came here, vegetarian food, what was that? Millets food. So, carrying that culture, economy and power together and displaying it to the whole world, that is Prime Minister Modi. Supreme national interest, Desh or Dharm, if I can sum it up.
Okay. Ambassador Mukherjee, all points surmised, talking about the one key aspect of this discussion was he's spoken about how we, the government of India, took an enormous effort in terms of the uncertain times that India was living in to pull it out of the past that India had been living in for the last 50 years. Not to mention another point about how it has never before been done by any other country across the globe, which India has been able to achieve, whether it is its association with Israel, or for that matter Iran, or for that matter with Saudi Arabia and UAE. And at the same level, we have our diplomacies built strongly with America and with UK and with France, and at the same time with Russia. Can you think of a country that is so versatile and diverse and having one-to-one associations that cannot be impacted by external forces?
Absolutely, I agree with you. In fact, Megha, what our Prime Minister did, which Sumit just eloquently explained, is that, first of all, in every Indian, he brought back the issue of an Indian national identity, which had been erased in colonial times and had not been rebuilt until Prime Minister Modi became Prime Minister. That was a long, long time that India took to get back its national identity. Along with that national identity was the pride of every Indian that take us as we are, and our foreign policy is based on our core national interests. If United States says that America believes in its own interests, then why should India not do the same? If Russia says it, why should India not do the same? For the first time, we demonstrated that we will do exactly what all major powers do and should do, which is to look after their national interests. And in that process, if you...
All right. All right, with that, we come to the end. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast. Once again, flashing at the bottom of your screens, 9 p.m. on NewsX, the Hot Mic, an exclusive interview with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who was interviewed by my editor-in-chief, Rishabh Gulati.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.